Hello, veterans, KKB employees, everybody watching. Welcome to the Veteran Lang YouTube channel. Here, where we provide education to hopefully make, the benefits process smoother between veterans and VA alike. To do so, I'm your friendly VA accredited attorney, Matthew Lang. Today's video is going to be one of these videos I haven't done for a while, and it's going to be trying to answer some of the more common questions that I've run into again recently and over the last few months. So just a general Q&A ultimately for you. As a VA accredited attorney, I am finding I get this question a lot still, even after so many years of working in the VA and the VA being in existence and even working here as a VA accredited attorney. And that is, do I qualify for VA disability compensation? Well, veterans, many of you do. I would say most of you do. I get veterans that come in, and when they ask this type of question, ultimately they're under the understanding that they don't qualify because they weren't in combat, or they were a reservist or National Guards member, so they wouldn't qualify, or they've found some bad information somewhere that would say they don't qualify for their situation. So, veterans, I want you to know it is possible for you to qualify for VA compensation benefits or even other benefits in the process, whether that be education or home loan or healthcare. You just have to go through their eligibility process. Whether you're active duty, whether you were in combat or not, whether you're reserve or National Guard, there are eligibility possibilities for all veterans. So I would say seek out myself, another VSO, VA accredited attorney, VA accredited agent, to get you some help at filing some of those compensation claims at least. Go down to your local VA facility, clinic, hospital, if there's one close enough to you. Check with the eligibility there. If you're able to use a computer, go on va.gov to register for eligibility there. Maybe you can just pick up the phone, call the VA. They can usually answer those questions and get things started for you as well for various benefits, especially like education. You can go online, you can fill that out. You can get help from a VSO, from a VA. There's so many options out there. Is it enough options? Probably not. System's not perfect, unfortunately, but we will continue to work at that. But my ultimate answer here for you veterans from this question that I constantly get is you likely qualify for something, one benefit or another. So definitely ask the right questions, or ask any question, just that question alone, I guess. Qualify. Do I qualify for VA compensation? Do I qualify for this VA benefit? And if you're wondering if you qualify for VA disability compensation and you haven't talked to anybody yet, understand that you can go to veteranlang.com as one location, or call us at 480-219-2101. We help veterans nationwide answer that question. If there's benefits we feel that you might be entitled to, or you want to have help filing those new claims or original claims, or even some assistance with your appeals, reach out to us. Get on my calendar there. Let's see what we can do for you. Now, don't forget, again, you got VSOs and other accredited agents and attorneys who are out there to help you as well. Here's another one I get a lot. Can I file a claim years after leaving the military? You can. I think there's some veterans out there. There may still be some out there. I know I've had the question from a few that have walked in here. Well, I didn't know I could file for benefits because it's been 20 or 30 years since service. You can definitely still file the claims. There's no statute of limitation on the filing of your claims, veterans. Now, the one hurdle you may run into, just from my experience, is when you're that far out or you're a number of years out, it may make the claims process harder, but not necessarily impossible. But ultimately, remember, there's no statute of limitations. You can file at any time. Another question that I run into is, can I receive VA disability and still work? I think that's a concern for a good number of veterans. We may have new limitations that we didn't have before when we joined service, and that we do now after leaving service. And those limitations may just be that, just a little hiccup in the road for some of us, but we want to still be able to work if we can. So if you're able to, yes, you can still work while receiving VA disability benefits. There's nothing in the law that says you can't work. Now, somebody might go, well, what if I've got TDIU or that IU or individual unemployability, as it's been called so many different things. They say I can't work. Well, that's not technically true either. You can. There's limitations to that and different provisions that limit maybe how much work you can do or maybe even who you're working with. But there's no provision that says you can't work at all in order to receive even that benefit. So keep that in mind, veterans. Keep that in mind. What forms do I need to submit? Veterans, I get that a lot too. Well, what do? I don't know where to go next. And again, this is where we can help out quite a bit. Again, coming to veteranline.com or give us a call 480-219-2101, getting on our calendar to let us help you out there, or going to another VSO, down to the VA even, or another VA accredited attorney or agent. But when it comes to what forms to submit, it depends on the situation that you're in, what the facts of your case are, have you filed before, and a number of things. But ultimately, what you're going to look for is if it's a claim you've never filed before, you're going to find the VA Form 526, VA Form 21-526, EZ, to start those claims. And I'm sorry for my hesitation there. It's pointed out to me that the form says EZ and it's far from easy. Anyhow, if you need help with that, we're happy to get that going for you as well. But that's where you would start with that. VA.gov asks you all the questions, and it fills out an electronic one in the background for you if that's where you would like to go. But that's for the new claims, the claims you never filed before. Maybe you've had an evaluation for a number of years, and now the conditions got worse. You want to use that form there. Now, when we talk about an appeals claim of some sort, you have a supplemental claim, you have a higher-low review, and you have directly to the board, a notice of disagreement to the Board of Veterans Appeals. A supplemental claim is going to be filed on a VA Form 20-0995. Now that's where you're going to provide some additional evidence if you have it. This is also a form that's good not only for appeal, but to reopen a claim that's more than a year old. So if you're outside of that appeal world, you can still open up that claim with a supplemental claim and new evidence. The higher-low review, the HLR, is on VA Form 20-0996. And then your Board of Appeals form is VA Form 10182. So 10182. So those are the basic forms that you're going to want to submit depending on what type of claim or appeal you're filing. Now, there's definitely some other ones out there when it comes to dependency. You might be looking at the VA Form 21-686C, which then could help establish your spouse or your children onto your board as well. So those are the basics to help you out there, veterans. Those are the basics for you. Now, here's the other question is could I file that online? I get that from veterans too, even the veterans we represent. Should I file that online? Well, as we represent you, I'm going to tell you, usually no, we got you. We got that taken care of. But veterans, at any time, you're able to file online. You don't need a representative. But if you prefer a representative, again, don't forget, we're out there at veteranline.com at 480-219-2101, or the VSOs, or the other accredited VA agents or attorneys across the nation. You can always seek their help as well. Now, here's a popular one. This one I got to address again because I even got it again today before I made this video, and it's a very complex issue, and I think I'm getting better at explaining it. So I think the idea here in this question, which is usually, how does the VA calculate my disability rating or my evaluation overall? We really want to do what we were taught in elementary school, 1 + 1 = 2, but we call this VA math, and the VA math is not always going to work 1 + 1 = 2. What we have to remember is the rules, regulations, and laws look at you, veterans, as 100% you. So let's put it this way. Let's say you haven't filed a claim yet. No claim. So you, as you stand now, would be 100%, your whole 100%. If you are service connected with the 10% condition, then we're going to take that 10% and we would take 10% of 100. Well, we know that's 10%. So your overall will be 10%. That's still basic elementary. But once we do that, let's say you have another 10% condition in there. Well, we've taken the 10% here. We've taken 10% away from 100. Well, 10 from 100 is 90. So your new 100% of you is 90. 90% is your new 100. So we're going to take now 10% off of 90, which is 9, and we're going to take the original 10 plus the 9. It's going to equal 19, and then we're going to round the number to 20. And that's ultimately your overall evaluation. Now, that still may sound very similar to 1 plus 1 equals 2, but as we further go down the line and we keep adding conditions and we use even bigger conditions with higher evaluations and we got less and less of you, the math works out in smaller increments and it gets a little bit more difficult to move that number. So that's why you may see something that doesn't quite add together right, where 1 plus 1 doesn't equal 2. So that, in short, again, is how VA calculates your disability ratings. Veterans, when they assign those evaluations, they really start the highest one and they work their way down at subtracting and determining how much of you is still left. But that's still a common question I get almost daily, it feels like. But understand it's not going to work out 1 plus 1 usually. Let's talk about another question that I have on here. What happens during a CMP or a VA exam? Well, veterans, this is the time where you're going to be set in front of either a VA physician, doctor, nurse, PA, some medical expert of sorts, or you're going to be in front of one of the VA's contractors. Now, what exactly happens in what's supposed to happen may be two different things. We do hear from veterans quite often where that was the worst experience I've had, especially during with the contractors. The idea is they are like they're in and out in 5 minutes. No one listened to a word I said. No one did anything. We do run into those. Is that all of them? No, for sure not. There's definitely a lot of good stories we hear too. But what I'm really getting at here is that when you go to a CMP exam or a VA exam, what should really happen is there should be some sort of discussion, probably over your evidence, questions that are asked to you to provide your statements. In short, there may be some objective testing. Say if it's a joint issue, there's going to be some range of motion testing, and you'll go through those steps there. If it's mental health, you're likely going to just answer questions that the psychiatrist or psychologist has for you to help them understand your condition, your diagnosis, veterans, and then everything you've been through. So that's really what happens during the exam. And what should happen is ultimately kind of like an interview process and an exam at the same time. So nothing really different, I would say, probably from what most experience from the primary care. What else do I have here? I think I've summed a lot of these questions up in some of the questions before. Oh, how long does a claim take or an appeal take? I get that question quite often too. Veterans, I can never tell you for sure how long it's going to take. Again, the facts of your case are all different. The VA will tell you that they work the claims in the order that they're received, and I think we all know that may not be true. Sometimes the claim gets worked the next day and denied quickly. Sometimes the claim is worked within a week. Sometimes it sits there for a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year. Kind of depends. So what I usually do is, veterans, when you have this question, what I usually do is I'll tell you what we're seeing back here is, I would say, about 4 months in a lot of cases, and maybe up to 6 months on probably the more average cases. I would say 4, but again, upwards to 6, and very few go higher than that. Now, take in mind, this doesn't calculate in legal errors in the decisions, inadequate exams that later get denied, and then we have to continue the process and appeal. Just when you file that document, I would say you're looking towards 4 to 6 months, and usually around 4 for what I experience right now. Now, that number may change over time, but right now, I would say that's what you should expect. Again, but some go faster, some go slower. The facts of your case could be crucial to the speed, the evidence that's being gathered, and maybe just how the claims are being assigned that day. But I'd say give it 4 months. Give it 4 months, and you'll probably be pleasantly surprised by how fast it actually goes. Can I submit new evidence after a denial is another question I've had, and I get a lot along the way. Veterans always want to submit more information, more evidence. And veterans, there's definitely a lot of opportunity for you to do that. You got to make sure, though, that evidence is speaking to the element that's causing the denial. You don't want to re-speak to something that's already been conceded because it's not going to likely benefit you. Now, can it still do both? Speak to an element that's already been conceded and one that hasn't? Sure. But during the process, when you file a claim, say you file a new claim or an original claim, you definitely have the possibility of filing some additional evidence along the way. Maybe you filed that claim and didn't have the evidence available, or you realized, oh shoot, I have these doctor's records over here that I forgot to give. You can definitely do that. One thing you may want to be cautious about, just from my experience and my professional opinion, is constantly sending in evidence during the claims process, which could ultimately slow you down quite a bit. So you want to be careful of that. Not that I want to discourage you from providing evidence, just know that you probably want to make sure you have it all gathered up right away the first go around. So if you forgot to even send stuff in, or you're looking for the VA to try to help you out there on the original claims, they'll definitely send you an authorization form for authorization release from your physicians that you work with. Now, you also have the option to provide additional evidence in a supplemental claim. Now, you can't do it in a higher level review. It's not allowed there. But even if you take a notice of disagreement to the Board of Veterans' Appeals, you have opportunities in their evidence docket, or even after the hearing, if you select the hearing docket, to provide some evidence. But you do have limited windows in about 90 days to do so there. So yes, you can submit new evidence in multiple different scenarios when it comes to your claim there. Veterans, I got a list of different things on here, stuff that I run across all the time. I want to make sure you're fully informed. I'm going to give you the last one here on my list of how do I know what my effective date is? How do I know the VA got my effective date right? Well, we're going to review it back here if it's us. And I imagine if you got any other representative, they would do the same. But let me give you the general rule, the 38 CFR 3.400, which kind of gets you started everything there with the effective dates, gives you that foundation. The general rule is your date of claim. There is a spot in there that says like facts found. There's another term that they use there, or reasonably slipping my mind right now, and I apologize. I could go back and edit the video, but it's been a long day. Facts found is one there, or entitlement arose. That's what it is. There we go. Entitlement arose. Let's knock those cobwebs out of there, boy. That's the basic foundation there. Now, that facts found and entitlement arose is probably a little controversial at times, but it takes a lot more evidence to really prove or demonstrate. So typically, we're going to land on a date of claim. Now, keep in mind you still have other effective date issues that could pop in there. Like maybe you provided a valid intent to file claim, or intent to file in an ITF, and then a claim attached to it later on. Then the ITF would be likely your effective date. Now, maybe you just got out of service and you filed your first claim within a year, maybe 6 or 7 months, say, after you got out of service. Well, then your effective date would go back to the day after your discharge from service, if you got off active duty there. Those are just some other provisions there. And other provisions could be things like continuous pursuit of your claim. So when you file your original claim and maybe the VA will deny, you get 1 year to appeal at that point. Now, that 1 year, when it comes to continuous pursuit, is very crucial because you want to make sure that you file your appeal within that period of time. It don't take too long to do that because you may miss it by a day or two, which will then throw you back in the date of claim world. But keep in mind there that you can file that appeal, and once you file it, then another decision comes along. And if that decision is beyond the year, well, that's okay. It's the point of when you filed the appeal, as long as it's within that year. So then you can call it continuous pursuit, and it keeps going back further and further and further until the rules kind of stop. Now, veterans, you got all kinds of other stuff in there. You've got the liberalizing law rules. Shoot, there's so many more. Liberalizing law could happen if there's law change. The PACT Act we've seen was the most recent one that really created that issue for us, where the effective date can go back to the date of change of law if you file your claim within a year, or maybe even an ITF within that year, and then the claim within the ITF window. So just keep in mind the basics for your effective date is usually date of claim, but continuous pursuit it could be highly possible as well. And there's just some other exceptions, but I would keep those two in your pocket and remember those. Well, veterans and AKV employees, I hope this was helpful for you. I just want to answer some more questions here. There's always so much to learn, so much to get at back here. I think we got some other great topics coming up, but this was just kind of nice and relaxing, I think, for now for everybody. If you do have more questions, throw them in the chat. I'll put them together in a video and answer them, or I'll do my best to answer them actually on the YouTube comments there when I get a moment. Not quite my strong point. I apologize for that. I may be reading stuff, but I may not be answering quite as fast as I'm working so many things back here. But we will do what we can to answer those questions. If you got them, I do want to hear them. Let's educate each other. If others have the answers to the questions, throw them out there. All right, veterans, AKB employees, thank you again for watching another video. And as always, if you need assistance, veterans, looking for representation, you can go to a VSO, you can go to a VA accredited attorney or a VA accredited agent in your local area or any across the nation, usually. Or find me at veteranlang.com, where you get to my calendar and schedule a time to talk over the phone. And if you're in a local area here by the office, we can always do an in-person meet up as well. And if you want to call us and set up that time, 480-219-2101. But I would highly recommend you go to veteranlang.com because it's just easier since my calendar is right there for you. All right, everybody. I'll see you next Tuesday. Have a wonderful day.